Okay, so I've got you two.
Perfect.
No Josh.
Still saw enough of me last week.
Yeah.
I actually clicked on the YouTube link. It was just like side of my head and voices.
So this gets saved.
Wow.
Is it saved
Yeah,
out on
no.
YouTube or is it?
Yeah, I put it on my place.
Okay.
On YouTube.
I found some older on YouTube of the show.
I think ideally, I'd like probably hang the tripod down. You know, hang the camera down so it gets up. But it's just there's no way to do that. I'm gonna have
And
two
remember
rebels with me to do all that. So.
Facebook is running even during the commercial breaks.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so don't say anything horrible.
Be good.
Don't do anything weird.
I don't know,
Or
Mark.
do, just
I don't
know.
think Kelly Brothers puts up a little tripod like
He should.
that.
He's got people that do that for him. That's why.
Oh, man.
Right.
Staff.
He's got
Same with Mark
tripod.
Haney.
He's
We're talking
got
about Mark
tripod.
Haney
Yeah,
yesterday. Mark Haney's got multiple people to do that stuff
Yeah.
for him. You can see Mark there arranging his phone
See,
on
like
an
this
old
big-
tripod.
Do you advertise on LinkedIn for your show? I think because this morning I saw Mark had a big blast on, I think, when he does
It's
his
all- yeah.
show and his recap.
I
and-
get so much word about that. Like you guess like Elon and
Right.
Josh.
Yeah,
and
big
it's
shout
just-
We gotta turn them
we
away.
can't
big
shut up
time,
to
yeah.
people, right? Oh, here we go. See if I can do this without crashing the phone. Hey, all right. So far, so good. So far, so good. I see your leg, Josh. Okay.
Very nice right here. Just zoom in right.
Sorry, man. Your face is totally cut out.
That's all right. Like I said,
See your face.
it was all face last week, so that's all right.
I'll leave it out. Like to focus on the
So,
torso
got
today.
Mark-
Joke, he goes, I hope it's your good
That's
side. I
right.
looked at the
Okay.
video, I was like,
So-
damn.
And we'll get louder when we get louder now than we're required.
If I didn't know
Put
before,
these on
now
there.
I do.
When we're on the show.
Okay.
I hate to break this up, but we gotta check mics, okay?
Pick it up.
Boys and girls.
Pick it up. All right, Jerry. Check, check, check.
Good morning, Jerry. Check, check.
Morning, Jerry. Hello, hello. Check, check.
Oh, no, I got Josh's face.
Good morning.
What do you say?
5
minutes.
minutes, 1
Okay.
second.
All right.
Or more like 4:57 now.
Yeah. 4:55. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just introduce you. We'll talk a little bit. We'll bring in Amanda, we'll bring in you. And this basically kind of go into your background.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
A little bit about the background.
So like the work experience.
Yeah, work
and then-
experience. Maybe if you want to start, wherever, grew up, college, all that kind of stuff. How you ended up coming, what you did at
Okay.
school, and how you ended up doing what you're doing now, and how you came here from Wisconsin, and all that.
Okay.
How much you love Sacramento.
Yes.
It's the greatest city to do business
Yes.
in.
Absolutely.
Plan.
That's the reason we moved here.
Family and then opportunities.
Yes.
You have kids?
No.
Gonna?
No.
No.
It took me a long time to convince my wife that. You never know, it could change. But
It took me
I
2
think-
kids to convince
I
myself
think
that.
I think we're on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we have niece, 2 nephews here, 6 in Wisconsin, and so we like to babysit every couple of days and
Yeah,
go back
like
home.
rent them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like to
We have a
babysit.
cat.
What's
and
his
make it a
website
dog.
again?
Yeah.
Contact them.
We like kids, but I don't know if we want our own. So,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
My wife would probably, but I think we're beyond that. So.
Okay. Well, if I see her, I
Never.
will not bring it up.
Never beyond that, right? What did I see? John's doing his final tour because he wants to stay home with his kids. He's 70. His kids are like 5 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never too late.
I was adopted 50 or something.
Right? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
No, get it on the niece thing. Niece and nephews, that's the way to go.
Yeah. So they're 2 and 5. They're here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And yours are
6 and 4.
Okay.
And yours.
So
8 and 5.
we lived for a few months with my sister when we first moved here.
Oh, wow.
And,
Does that really seal the deal for you?
Oh yeah.
That's when he's like, okay, definitely no
Like,
kids.
maybe.
Plus,
No.
he had 3 dogs and a cat, so it was perfect.
No kids.
We need our own place immediately.
Did you guys have any pets with you?
We had 1 cat, so we had 3 dogs and 2 cats over there. So.
Nice. 2 kids,
Every
3
other
dogs,
line.
2 cats.
Yeah, it's cool. It's pretty good. Yeah.
What's your wife do?
She works with Blue Diamond Growers. She's
Oh.
an operational financial analyst.
Okay.
And so she, when we decided to move, she ended up finding her career quickly. And so we moved, and that's what I was in, an exploratory path of figuring out what I wanted to do. And
Okay.
yeah, so she's right downtown.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a couple miles from our house, and so it works out well. She really likes it there.
I heard it's a really good company.
Yeah.
And they're growing.
Yeah.
Get a new ad recorded. I have to write my own ad copy.
Look at that staff, man.
Right? Yeah. So have a 30-second spot. So Jerry's keep running these 30-second spots. And 2 of them together to make a minute.
Oh.
Katie had written a minute spot because she was creative like that.
Yeah.
She did a man-woman interviewing back and forth. It's very creative. Mine was just like one person talking.
If only you still worked in the same building with her, she might be able to help you out.
Yeah, if only you knew her.
Well, I know.
Say, help
Hey,
me.
can you write my commercial?
Help me.
She's in that
Help me
locked
with
office, though, you know, the floor below.
I know, yeah, you can't get in. They can't get out either way. Have you been to our space?
I haven't.
You've been to our space, haven't you? You ought to come by one of these days.
I will.
Good.
I will. I know. I'll visit Katie too.
Yeah. We're opening up our CLA Cafe
Ooh.
anytime now, which is part of the firm-wide kitchen concept. It goes away from having a standard kitchen to an open area with standing desks against the window.
Oh.
Little gathering spaces.
Wellness.
So you guys will actually cook the salmon, not just reheat it? to bring
No,
it?
no, I hope so.
Forbidden. No fish.
Oh. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Mark Bellows, a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen. Work with businesses and their owners, predominantly in the manufacturing distribution space, also some contractors and real estate investors and developers. So planning, strategy, that sort of thing, and there's a lot to do because of tax reform. So a lot of planning and strategies that we're doing with our clients now. It is Wednesday morning, a little chilly here in Sacramento, but I was on the phone with someone from Quebec last week, and it was like minus 17 there, so chilly's relative, right? Good morning, Josh Corell's with me.
Good morning.
Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
Good,
So,
good.
A little foggy, but we're all right. We're not in Quebec, so
And
that's
exactly.
good.
So you're close-ish to the studio, right? You guys live?
Natomas.
Okay.
So depending on which way you go.
Not
but-
too bad.
No, not at all.
No, I'm coming down from Rockland this morning, there was no fog in our area. And then as soon as you get to around Madison, it got really foggy. It's foggy down here, so.
Yep.
And also we have Amanda Blackwood.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning,
Hello.
Amanda. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Good, and you're a close drive too, right?
I am. I'm Land Park.
Nice.
So it was a solid 11 minutes.
Nice. But you had to get the kids ready for school.
I had to get the kids ready for school. However, I got up early, and so they got up early, and it was a much smoother morning than the normal shouting fiasco
Yeah.
that happens about 7:20 a.m. every day.
Are the kids close? Is the school close to your guys' house?
They're ESAC, so the
Okay.
older one's at Phoebe Hearst, which we love, and the little one's at Busy Bee, like 28th and P.
Awesome.
It's great.
That's a great name.
It's great.
I know. And then we have a guest this morning, Matt Lambie. Matthew Lambie, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank
Welcome
you
to the
for
show.
having me
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into Matt in a little bit to find out who he is and what he's about and why he's on the show. But welcome. You also had a short drive, so nice. Everyone's commute stories that we're caught up to date now, so
We're good.
yeah,
We're here. We're ready.
So cold,
such-
foggy, short
yeah,
commutes.
great, good
Done.
times. Good
This
time.
is gold.
Yeah. So just a reminder that I'm shaving my head on March 3rd, which is
yeah.
about 4 weeks away. I can't wait. My hair's super long. And I'm raising funds for St. Baldrick's as part of that. So St. Baldrick's, stbaldricks.org, if anybody wants to go and contribute money. You look up the name Mark Bellows and you'll find my name there. And so I have a goal of $10,000, and as of yesterday I was at $325. So just getting started on the
Okay.
fundraising efforts. So Josh has got something coming up. When do you kick off in March?
For the Leukemia Lymphoma Society Man and Woman of the Year campaign. We start our fundraising March 1st,
March
running
12th,
through
that's right.
May 12th. So we'll overlap you a little bit.
A little bit. And your goal's a little higher than 10,000.
Yes.
Add a zero.
Well, we have a team.
Right.
So we're going for $100,000 for our team.
Well, LLS is great. We've talked about that before, and we'll have them on the show again. So,
Yeah.
but they're a great organization. So, okay. So Matt Lambie, Matt, welcome to the show. And Amanda, by the way, Amanda's been on as a guest before, and
I
she's
have.
going to do some co-hosting down the line.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome. And so she wanted to come on and kind of observe this week, and I said, well, if you're going to be here, might as well put some cans on your ears and give you a mic. So.
It's okay. I wouldn't be able to sit in a room quietly.
No,
regardless,
and
so
we don't want you to.
just embrace it.
Absolutely, yeah. So Matt, tell us us an audience, a little bit about what you do. Your company is called OPFI Advisory. So what do you do?
Yeah, so the OPFI Advisory stands for, the OP is operations, FI is finance.
Okay.
And it relates to my background, having executive leadership experience in operations and finance. The slogan of the company is business with a path. And so the path is a growth path.
Right.
And we have three really service offerings: one strategic advisory, project management, and then also interim roles.
Okay.
And within those three categories, the main focus is, as a business owner, what's the value proposition? What do we bring to the table? Three focuses: one is operational efficiencies, the second is profitable growth, and the third is change management.
Okay.
So it's a general platform for what we offer.
Okay. Great. And so you are relatively new to the Sacramento market, right?
Correct.
Coming from an area that's much colder. Speaking of going back to the weather thing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you came from and your background?
Yeah, so my wife and I relocated from the Midwest this previous May 2017. Originally grew up in Appleton, Green Bay area. If you're familiar with Wisconsin, it's about 2 hours north of Milwaukee. My wife grew up in Milwaukee. So very familiar with the minus 15, minus 5.
That would explain the short sleeves today.
That's right. That's right. The tank top. So growing up in the Midwest, see a prevalent manufacturing environment. Went to school at Marquette in Milwaukee, as well as my wife. Met there, spent time in Milwaukee, and worked with Grant Thornton in public accounting. So CPA. Spent several years working with mid-market manufacturing companies. So typical, $15 million to $200 million manufacturing businesses. Found a passion there, really enjoyed that, especially working with family-owned businesses in the middle market, and decided, probably learned a lot in the public accounting arena, but wanted to find a business to align with. And so I began as a controller with a mid-market manufacturing company in northern Wisconsin. Had the opportunity to grow within that business through the financial arena, then had opportunity to run their supply chain group.
And what did they manufacture?
They manufactured 15-ton to 1,000-ton OEM cranes.
Oh.
wow.
So in the marine industry, industrial industry.
Okay, yeah.
And so if you're over Lake Tahoe, looking at some of the piers where you see the blue machines that pick up boats, and also in industrial industry like prefab concrete, steel, some of those industries. So had a lot of experience, a lot of cross-functional experience in finance, supply chain, running customer care groups, service industry, service platforms. There were 30 distributors in the company worldwide, and then also had P&L responsibility over the manufacturing facility. So experience running large teams, and then cross-functional within the business.
So, excuse me, a number of years experience with all of that, right? So, give you some a good background. And then what'd you do from there?
From there, then decided we had family in Sacramento, and decided that we wanted to get closer to family. Also, we were tired of the long winters and the 5 below zero.
I can imagine.
6 months of winter, and decided to relocate to Sacramento, closer to family. Then my wife found an opportunity at Blue Diamond Growers,
Right.
The operational finance, and decided to move here. And when we moved, wanted to try to figure out what I want to do with my career, and met with a lot of organizations, learning the business landscape, and decided instead of working for one organization, I wanted to offer the value and the service and work with many organizations.
Well, good. Well, I always enjoy having entrepreneurs on the show, and obviously coming to a brand new market and starting your own business is very entrepreneurial. So we're going to go to commercial here in a second, but I'll be real interested to kind of hear about maybe what you've experienced as you've started growing the business. Because there's got to be ups and downs, highs and lows, and there's got to be a lot of things you've learned to do in the new market. So we'll continue our conversation with Matt Lambie. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5. We'll be right back. Doesn't look like Matt.
My wife.
That's my word.
Just wait till Katie gets her coffee.
Yeah.
That's a 6-shot espresso.
I know, right?
Oh, wait.
So you doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Well, that's interesting. So we basically do the same thing.
Yeah, I was looking at your website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm right now. I do a little bit of subcontract with a few people. I'm working on my own right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, well then we'll need to get a better understanding of what you're
Yeah.
looking for in your ideal client mix.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and I've also doing
That
subcontract
would be
opportunities.
perfect.
Yeah.
That would be perfect questions to explore
Okay.
with money.
Will do.
Yeah.
I will
Alright.
save that.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I was looking at your website this morning.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my info too.
We can meet up at the Urban Hive over some
We
kombucha.
can.
Do they have kombucha on tap?
On
there?
tap,
Oh, we
yeah.
Oh,
do.
yum.
That's the only reason to
I
join.
love it.
Yeah. You gotta get that boot. Wednesday meditation? Yeah, that's my info.
All right. Thanks.
When we were when I was in Minnesota over the fall, all the people in our office, there were like a couple people in our office, they were like, we gotta go get some kombucha, because they get like twice a day there. And there's a place right down in one of the tunnel, you go walk through because all the buildings are connected, right? So
Okay.
a couple of buildings over, there's a place that has it on tap, and they go over there every afternoon. It's like, kombucha's big in Minneapolis.
All right. Who knew?
And we're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. We're talking about kombucha.
Or the
And
booch.
The
as they
booch.
call it.
The
As
booch.
they call it, the booch. And so I am a big kombucha fan myself. And we're talking about how at the Urban Hive, which is where Amanda has spent time and where Matt has looked into. And have you been there? Yet?
I don't think I've been there.
Oh, you're next.
What?
But
You
anyway,
gotta
they,
come in.
they have the booch on tap there.
They do.
So, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And mindfulness and meditation and massage. You get massage with your membership.
Really?
Just
And
put it
when's the
on there.
meditation there?
I want to say it's on
Is
Wednesdays.
this the new location or
The new
prior
location.
location?
Yes.
I want to say old.
Yeah, so Wildline Wellness, Michelle Alexander, who is fabulous. She puts on meditation sessions.
Really? How long are
It's
the
all part of
meditation
your.
sessions?
I think that some are 30 minutes and some are maybe a little bit extended, like if people are feeling it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Where's the new location?
It is in the cannery on
Okay.
Alhambra. And it's beautiful and gorgeous, and you should check it out.
Well, we're gonna have Brandon on the show again, so we can talk some more.
Oh, good.
about
We
that.
should
Yeah.
get Molly too.
Definitely.
Molly's
Sounds good.
She's the star of the show.
Is that right?
Yes.
She's behind the scenes doing it.
Yeah, she's making the trains run on time around there. I love Brandon. Brandon, you know I love you. But you know.
And he knows.
He
right?
knows.
As someone who's married.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. I know. So you moved out here in July, ish, is that right?
Yeah.
July.
May.
So
Yeah.
July time frame. Your wife had a position at Blue Diamond.
Correct.
You didn't. So how did you go from, public accounting and in corporate environment, so having a, if you will, secured kind of profession where someone else is cutting your paycheck to going on your own? And how did you make that transition
One piece I always had internally, always thought of doing my own thing and had an entrepreneurial spirit, and here was a great opportunity to meet new people and really learn the business landscape. So one of the biggest connections, Blue Diamond connected me to an individual within Sacramento that reached out and wanted to help me and wanted to grow. He said his goal is to grow Sacramento. His name's Dave Sanders.
Okay, yeah.
And he wanted to grow Sacramento, and he offered to help me connect with the community. So started meeting with people he connected me with, and also an individual, Marilyn Nelson, helped me connect within the community. And so just set up networking meetings and meeting new people and putting myself out there, going to many different discussions, meetings, groups within the community.
Right.
And from there just started building and really figured out through that path and journey within the community that there's a lot of great things going on in Sacramento, very prosperous. I mean, I'm really impressed with the technology scene, the entrepreneur scene, incubators, the fun development that's here.
And Dave is involved with Sac Angels, right?
Yeah, Sac Angels, and
Yeah.
I just became a member of Sac Angels
Okay.
as well. And so meeting individuals in that group and connecting, and it's been a great experience. And I mean, Sacramento, a lot going on here, is very vibrant, and it's figured why work with one organization when I can add value to many and work with. And I like a lot of challenges, variety, and figured it's the best way to do that.
Great.
Excellent. So, Matt, a lot of what you talk about as far as operations and finance or OpFi is helping businesses grow. How do you guys do that? Because I know a lot of businesses are ready to jump into the large contract to boost their revenue, but there are so many different items that they need to line up in order to manage that growth. How do you guys come along and help them do that?
One on the size of the organization, so we're willing to work with opportunity to work with startups. It also could be a mature business, and one of the main primary focus areas is net cash flow and positive cash flow. It's one of the main target areas. As you know, lifeline of the business is cash, especially for startups. And if you're not profitable, but as long as you have cash to make it through those times. So we focus from really three areas within cash flow. You have the customer segment, the supplier called vendor segment, and then the inventory piece of the business. And then from there, other things branch out as to what's your debt structure, your revolver, your line of credit, is it structured properly for the business? And then shifting for a mature business, within the baby boomer generation, a lot of businesses are looking at succession planning or selling, and what do I want to do next? So working with those organizations to say, okay, do you want to, you're looking to sell your business in 3 to 5 years, what do you need to do to position it properly to get the most value, and EBITDA analysis and going back to the cash flow and those pieces, bring that all together as to how they can grow, what's the strategy, and really you're sitting down understanding what are the goals of the business and the owners, and say the startup, what are their true goals, and evaluating revenue streams to meet their goals.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I have a question. So what is your ideal client?
I think it's a wide range, and not in a specific market. Obviously, my manufacturing experience, so manufacturing is definitely a passion. I just finished a large project with a technology company where they have incubators inside a large $1 billion publicly traded company, and they're doing some transactions and needed help with risk management and communication strategies, aligning with risk insurance plans and vetting those relationships. So within it, so the experience and the background is manufacturing, but also technology, and I think it's a wide range of taking these skills and approaches and applying to really any type of business.
And your projects could be short term to longer term. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we could 2 to 3 month, depending on the goals, or it could, example of interim role, if an organization wanted commitment for 6 months to a year to come into the business. And I think in order to really understand and learn the business, I think you can go in there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So ideally, you get 3 to 6 months to be able to understand the business and truly add the value.
So are the interim positions all finance or operational as well?
It could be a mix.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, for example, come in based on my skill set, I think that's the specialization, is being able to leverage the operational and the financial knowledge. So being able to CPA, being able to understand the financials, but then also go into the operations and identify efficiencies and opportunities there, and then bring those together to really add the value.
Okay, well, Matt and I are going to get together after this because we do something very similar. I was a CFO for about 6 years and then went into the operations side. So I know what you mean and how fun it is to, when you go from an organization to running your own thing, and everything's new. So every project is, give me your most messed up, screwed up, most difficult problem, and then I'm going to fix it, and then I get the opportunity to keep doing that. It's very energizing. So has that been the experience for you?
Yes, yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Us being a new marketplace, working with several other clients right now. One's in a technology space, one's in a printing and metering space, and so looking to add more clients, add more projects, and more challenges and really, the passion is watching people, grow their business and achieve their goals, and those could be a wide range of goals.
Now, Matt, I know a lot of companies, when they need some part-time help, will hire an outside firm like, say, CLA to kind of act as a temporary controller or kind of help with some of those aspects. It sounds like not only do you guys do that, but you also provide kind of a chief operating officer role as well. Is that correct?
Yes. So it'd be coming back to the name of the operations and finance. So if you think about the skill base and the offerings of what a COO and a CFO, from responsibilities, experience, background, and skills, that's the whole offering platform.
So you had mentioned change management. Can you explain to us what's your strategy?
Yeah. So having experience growing and leading teams, and actually just teams of all sizes, if somebody's managing a team of 8 or managing a team of 1,000, really understanding the people aspect of the business. So if you look at the 3 value adds of operational efficiency and the profitable growth, I think companies tend to forget about the people side most often, and really truly understanding, if the company has a financial goal or an operational goal, but to get those done, you need people to align and come together, and what type of culture do you have, and evaluating that to make sure that everybody's going towards the same goal and direction.
The right people in the bus, right? Is that what they say?
Yeah. And if you have, how many seats are on the bus?
Yeah.
Is
Are
there
you in the
room?
right seat?
Are you on the right bus?
And then
Push you out the emergency
You're right.
door.
And my old co-host Katie, that's one of the things that she that's one of her service offerings. So people and analyze that and assess where they are in the process. So.
Yeah, and who's driving the bus?
Yeah. And a lot of times it's not the right driver, is it?
Right. And really that's a big thing, is challenging the executives or the leaders as to their approaches, and is there vulnerability there, and they're willing to open and learn new things. And if they're not, usually it's difficult to succeed.
Do you, and I'll ask you that, and I'll ask you as well, because you guys are similar. Do you somehow vet that out in advance? If someone says, I want to bring you on to do XYZ project, and then do you kind of vet out to make sure, okay, are you willing to, if XYZ project results in change 1 and 2, is this guy going to be willing to do change 1 and 2, or forget it, then why even go down the road? Is that
Right. So for OE Consulting Group, my firm, one of our core values is candor, and we really believe that I don't want you to spend your money. I don't want us to spend our time if you're not really willing to dive into the real stuff. And if you want somebody else, that's fine. We'll refer you to somebody else. But for us, we have an intake conversation in the beginning that's very honest. And this is just, our circle of trust, and tell me what's really going on. And we ask that question, that are you willing to take a look at, maybe it's you, or maybe it's your investors, or maybe the board, because these are sticky. And if you're bringing in a third party, the beauty of that is I don't have a dog in the fight. So I'm just here to get you to have conversations that you probably are already having in your own mind, but now we're going to have them in a safe space, and if it doesn't go past this room, that's fine. But
so if there's an elephant in the room, you guys get to come in and identify it for them.
Yeah.
Because maybe they haven't identified it.
Yeah,
Everyone's
we're going to
trying
real
look
talk
away,
it.
and you're going to say, no, look.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're here for progress. So
Yeah.
if you want to keep doing what you're doing, you can totally keep doing what you're doing. It's your business. But if you want to move past this, we're going to have to address it.
Yeah, you've recognized a need, you've called us to the table, and now we're hunting elephants.
Let's get into it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can tell within the first meeting or two if someone's going to be open and honest and cooperative, and if not, they said that it's probably not worth working together or trying to help their business or help it grow.
Right. And the last thing you want to do is, when you have your own business, is have that experience and then someone not be happy with the end product.
Yeah.
So if we're not being honest or we're not really getting into it,
Yeah,
You're not going to
sure.
move anywhere. You're going to get a file and you're going to throw it in the drawer and then never look at it again.
Because I would imagine your big referral base is your client base.
Mhm.
And so if you've got an unhappy client, because I mean, even if it's their fault, quote unquote,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
They're an unhappy client, and that's a bad referral.
But how often do you guys run into that? Because I would imagine if they've already recognized, there's an issue and they're seeking some help, how often do you run into somebody that's just not looking for help?
I think we run into it infrequently because we had that conversation up front. It's difficult for someone to say, no, I'm perfect, and it's not me, and I refuse to look at that. So it's more of a framing conversation that, okay, we're going to think this way. We also, my partner and I, we come from an executive coaching background. So, we're going to ask questions that are going to get you to probably come to some realizations you've already maybe know.
Or you can, through others, say an employee of the organization or a board member or things that say, hey, this company you might want to look into, or they need help with this, and not give you all the detail, but it's an approach. So then it maybe takes a little bit more probing to understand what the true goals are, the issues are, and I mean, at the end of the day, you're problem solving and helping companies overcome challenges.
Right.
And as long as they're willing to do that and be honest about it, and at the end of the day, they're going to be a lot better off long term and with the situation.
All right, we are talking with Matt Lambie, who's with OPFI Advisory at www.opfiadvisory.com. If you want to get a hold of Matt, we're going to take a commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation.
Just for my own benefit, when we get back, I'd love to hear, what are some of the conversations that CEO or business owners are already having in their head that makes them think they should be reaching out to you guys?
That's a great idea.
I think that would be.
What would be your number?
What we run into the most is we're trying to get here and the team's just not on board, or it's just not working, and they don't really know why it's not working, but it's just not working. I've had some folks who were pretty upfront, like, maybe it's me, maybe I'm not being clear with the vision, maybe I don't.
That's what I was going to bring up, is that some realize they may be the issue and some don't, or certain people in place in the management structure. And it's kind of a question of, if you have, say, a CEO has a COO or a vice president, it's a question of, would you work for that person? If you, and having those conversations and bringing the employees, and so it's probably they're identifying themselves that they need to change or grow.
Yeah.
Or they just don't, or the culture, say that a business acquired another business.
Right.
They're trying to integrate cultures or change cultures.
Right.
Especially a family-owned business, if they ran it for 30 years and then, or generationally, there's a new generation running or taking over the business.
Yeah.
So those would be the,
Succession. And, when you do generational transfers, you get
which a lot is happening now.
Yeah.
because
Oh,
of
yeah.
that.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge part of our market right now, and sometimes it doesn't go. It's challenging.
When you get so many of the generational changes that, they admit, a lot of them, if we're gonna come in, we're gonna reinvent this thing, we're gonna go, and they get 6 months into it and go, the old way was successful.
Yeah.
We just
what
need
am I
to tweak
doing?
that maybe a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, maybe.
And typically with third generation of businesses are the most riskier, don't succeed.
Right.
So depending on where that flow is as well.
We
Yeah,
get
because
a lot
probably
of
second generations worked with first a lot more, so they have that influence. Where by the time you get to third generation, first generation's gone.
right.
And
You
it's
don't
been-
touch that original vision
Right,
anymore.
and generationally, depending on where they're at, and the millennial phases or approach to technology, or completely different as well.
We get a lot of nonprofit clients that are now realizing they can't keep operating the way they were because the income's just not there.
Okay.
You can't live off a grant
No.
anymore.
Yeah,
So-
particularly if it's not guaranteed
Right.
every single year, and if
Oh, yeah.
it's with the state or whomever, and you're waiting on it. Well, it used to be you're waiting on them to pass a budget.
Yeah.
January would roll around and you just shut the lights off till August.
Right.
When they pass the budget, you get your funding, you turn everything back on and roll with it. So.
So I don't know if you've seen that. That's a challenge of getting people to think non-business folks that were very program driven
Yes,
to think
that's the challenge.
you cannot do your programs if
I
this
haven't
isn't a
worked
solvent.
That's why I think
I haven't worked with not for profit.
it's really
challenging.
it's really helpful if you've got a
Interesting.
business-minded person
Right.
like executive director.
Yeah, you've got to have some. Don't lose your program and don't lose your mission. And it's not a business, but
Because you want, the program managers run the program, but then
Right.
really there's a whole big financial aspect
Yeah.
to it.
and
And so
nonprofit is that your
Yeah.
cash balance is not your
Oh.
accrual balance. I mean, you're going to get that in November, but you have payroll today.
Yeah. And I've been part of organizations that have lost grants and state funding.
And it's just.
And it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough if they're very dependent on it. So then they have to figure out how not to be as dependent. That takes a different mindset.
Mhm.
So how long are the segments between commercials?
8 minutes,
Okay.
10 minutes, 12 minutes maybe.
It's a well-oiled machine over
Something
here.
like that. And we're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5. We're talking today with Matt Lambie of OpFi, OPFI, OpFiAdvisor.com. And our co-hosts today, Josh Corell of Tri-Counties Bank and Amanda Blackwood with OE Consulting and Matt. So we got almost a full room.
Yeah.
When we had Make-A-Wish, we had a couple more people in here.
Oh.
So we had one of the Wish kids and his parents, so that was cool.
Nice.
But,
What's helping with the warmth?
It is, right? Well, and Jerry, our producer, turned up the heat a little bit. So it's a little bit warm in here. I was about ready to put
That's
on
it.
my...
Even a guy from Wisconsin's getting cold in here.
Then you know it's cold,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then you know it's cold.
So, well, we were talking a little bit during the break with Matt and Amanda, and I had some questions. You know, if I'm a business owner, what are some of the things I'm thinking in my head that would lead me to reach out to you guys for help? What are some of the questions, whether it's operationally, whether it's staff, whether it's growth? What's going on in my brain that says I need to reach out to Matt and Amanda?
Yeah, typically, Ben and I were talking, is they're trying to reach a goal and trying to get their team to follow or lead and lead the team, and they can't get there. And it could be, profitability, it could be many things, and they're trying to figure out why they can't get there, and they're struggling, running into walls. And how do we get there, and what do we need to do with the team to evaluate that? And typically, at that point, it becomes the evaluation, starting with, say, the leadership themselves as being vulnerable and open and honest, and evaluating is the leadership structure an issue, and personalities could be an issue. And Amanda, what your experience?
Yeah, I think we get phone calls a lot because it seems like it's a people thing.
Uh-huh.
Like people are fighting, or so-and-so's not getting along, or I don't understand why, I think I've been very clear about what we're trying to do. I don't get why my staff doesn't get that. And our process is going through and asking a lot of questions, doing surveying of staff at different levels and all the stakeholders. I mean, that's always an interesting thing. I don't know, Matt, if you do this with your process, but hearing from the customer, from the staff, from the board, from the executive leadership, and finding themes between them. And it's often a matter of perspective where you're at on what the problem is. But when you go through that process and ask enough questions, you start to see like, oh, okay. It's nothing is written down here and it's unclear in this in our processes. So it's not that your people don't care. They love you. They just don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Or the financial pressure of always having to do all this grant writing or RFPs or whatever is so stressful that people can't focus on the, I want my people to be futuristic. Okay, well, your day-to-day folks are just trying to pay the bills. So they can't think that way. Or we do a lot of assessment strength finder or whatever to kind of see that you have really good people and they're really bought in. They're just not in the right seats. So just move this here, move this here. This is a minor tweak. It's not everybody's not fighting. Everybody doesn't hate each other. They're just, this guy shouldn't be here and this lady shouldn't be here. Let's switcheroo and done.
And I think through that process, people learn more about each other, as well as creating the transparency and honesty. So if everybody's transparent and open with an organization, it's a lot easier to overcome those issues.
Yeah.
Or people hold those for years and they're never talked about, never put on the table. And once they are, typically you can get over that and move forward at working as a team.
Yeah, it's interesting. We spent some time down at the Disney Institute to see what they do, because talk about like a massive, consistent operation.
Right. Oh,
And something we found is they're constantly asking for feedback from frontline team members all the time. So, because that's the people doing the work.
Yeah.
So, we sit and do our executive mindset, and that's great, and that's a central part of the operation, but you can't be so out of touch with your folks that are on the ground level that, we see a lot of disconnect there.
Well, and a lot of times those guys, they're the face of the franchise.
Right?
You know,
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
sitting behind the scenes creating the structure, but if they're not successful, the franchise is not successful. They're what's represented out in the community. They're who's interacting with the customer base.
Yeah.
Especially on the service side of the business, depending on what type of business they have, they're representing, you know, the next sale, the next customer, and then in the culture as well, you know,
Right.
with all the stakeholders.
Yeah. Yep, that's an interesting process, I'm sure. Lots of things found out, and I think having been part of that as a member of, you know, big 8 accounting firm for a lot of years, and then now a bigger, same size kind of firm and a regional one in between. I mean, I've been through that various backfinding process at times, and you know, sometimes you get some resistance from internally. And so, you know, luckily I've been part of organizations, at least the last 2, CLA and Galena, that where the top was, and management was very much in favor of doing this and getting better and forget about personalities, you know. And so I think that's important because it's too easy to get caught up in all that. That's for sure. That's been my experience. And that you do, and if you have a strong enough voice that's resistant, it can undermine the whole process.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever worked with a client that they came in and said that they wanted the help, but then they did not?
And that's where the vulnerability piece is, that when you put the facts on the table, and if they're part of the problem, that's where it becomes a challenge. And sometimes they don't want to admit that, especially depending on the size of the organization and, you know, the person that's running it or the individuals that are running that, and it can be very challenging.
It is. And so do you have any experiences of ways to overcome that, or to
Part of asking a lot of questions, bring in more people to have conversations, you know, one-on-one conversations, understand. That goes back to the true goals. But if you get them to a certain point where they don't want to cooperate or not willing to take the next step, that's at some point you can put the facts on the table. They have to make the decision if they're going to be committed to the process. And if they're not, that's the front end vetting as to that process. And most of the time you can get them there.
And hopefully in a process like that, you get paid through stages. You should get paid for the work up to that point.
It goes, that's not cash flow progress payments.
Yes.
Deposits.
That's
and
important. You don't want to
payments.
be paid at the very end when the project's done, especially if the issue is potentially when who's cut right in the or signing the check.
Right.
So.
Now, Matt, another thing you brought up was succession planning. And I know right now there's a spike in the sale of businesses. Are there still a lot of business owners that are passing it down to the next generation, or is it just the next generation just isn't willing to step up and they're looking to sell? What are you seeing there?
No, sorry, real quick. Are you talking about generation familial or organizational?
Familial.
Okay.
I think there's both.
Yeah.
I think there's, and we were talking a little bit at break about the generations of family-owned businesses. Typically, what the third generation is the most challenging to be successful.
Right.
And maybe they're not interested in the business, or you know, they have different passions in life, or they watch their other 2 generations work so hard and they want to do something different. So in that case, that would be, you know, they want to bring the business to market and evaluate it and say what do we think we can get for true value, and then it goes back to the improvements that you can implement. And then on the other side, you could have a transition from one generation to the other, which is sometimes can be like you're selling the business and moving into a new owner or new management, being that it is new ideas, new platform, and that's a transition in culture and back to change management and philosophy, and also generational differences that exist, and the use of technology is big, and how do you implement that and getting people to come on board, and it really does make things more efficient and more profitable, but it's getting the change, the mindset change.
Now, if you're a business owner and you've survived the Great Recession, you're finally getting some equity built back into the business, and now you're thinking about selling, ideally, what's the time frame from when you get the idea that you're thinking about selling to reaching out to you and kind of ramping things up before you sell? How long of a process is that?
It's gonna vary depending on where the business is currently sitting and the status. I mean, if let's say they're, you know, use a drastic example, they're break even and they're not generating EBITDA and they want a certain multiple in a certain industry, and you know, it could take 2 to 3 years for that business to get to that point. As far as the process internally with, say, myself, with OpFi, going to depend on the goals. Back to the duration of the project, 3 to 6 months. Evaluation, depending on the goals of when to bring to market, timing, what type of industry are they in, also what's the M&A environment look like in that industry, and and also the goal of the multiple is big, because sometimes owners think that they can get X, but the reality is you can only get Y, and so coming to an agreement on that.
Yeah, and my experience with some of my clients is I've seen some that they don't have. I had one particularly, they don't really have a good succession plan internally in place.
Uh-huh.
The C-level people are not going to take over. There's really no one in that space, so they went looking outside, and so they talked to a couple different M&A people, some investment bankers, and like basically you got to clean stuff up. It's right now you're not an attractive purchase.
Right.
I mean, you've got to. And so, it's been a multiple year, for these guys, it was a multiple year process to try to get themselves more saleable, if you will. Because they didn't have a succession plan in place. See, the owners didn't have kids, or didn't have kids that wanted to take over. Like I said, the C-level people weren't going to do it, and so then who have you got?
And I think it's about who you're targeting as a buyer. And if you're looking at venture capitalists versus you're looking at, say, another family to buy the business, or a private owner, those are all different ramifications, and also how are they thinking about from a community perspective, and and who's going to be involved, what are the stakeholders, and because you can probably find a buyer overnight at a certain number with a venture capitalist group, but is that the approach you want to go? That's pros and cons to all of that.
Sure. We're going to take a commercial break here. We're talking with Matt Lambie of OpFi Advisory. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5 FM. Be right back.
Yeah, that's a good question. I had a client once that they wanted to sell, and they were web design, and they had hired an entire graphic design arm because they felt like that's what would make them more attractive, but nobody wanted that. They just wanted the web design part because that's where all their clients were. So now you've taken on $400,000 in payroll for an unproven segment of your business. And it was like, why did you do that? Well, because we thought we were full service.
So you're burning cash.
Right, but you have no proven concept as full service. You had a proven concept as web design, and you offered you were on a really small margin. Oh well, so what are you gonna do? You want to lay all these folks off, or?
Mm-hmm. And when we were living in the business, it's like you said, they're in the details or the focus of that, and it's hard to sometimes step back and even at the highest levels to say globally think about what are we doing, and that goes back to structure. If they have the right structure, they should be able to do that consistently. But if they don't, then they're more in the tactical realm than they should be in the strategic realm, right? So
We're working in the business than on the business.
right.
Layman's terms. Do you are you talking about SEC engines? Not like a particular investment, but like kind of the process of what you guys do.
Yeah, and I'm pretty new to it, so I went to one. I understand the general. I'm trying to think if I should talk about it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it.
And now back. We're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on my own 105.5 FM, where the music bringing us back in is War, Lowrider. So thank you, Jerry, for that. Our producer's always good giving us some good music for whatever I forget what the technical radio term is for when music that brings us back in and takes us out. But what is it, Jerry? Bumper. Thank you. That was a good bumper. A Lowrider bumper. All right. So we're talking with Matt Lambie of OpFi Advisory. Matt is recently new to the area. Moved here this last summer. He and his wife came from Wisconsin area, and Matt had some experience in public accounting, and then some experience working for a manufacturing company, and now is doing advisory services. So how have you gotten your clients? You kind of mentioned that earlier, but is it all through referrals? Do you cold call? And what?
Majority so far have been through network, all the above. Through networking, the initial network, and people I've met at various organizational meetings and networking, and the last project came through somebody I met at a networking event, a month later connected me, and then a couple meetings later, and it happened that way. So I've done online through LinkedIn, learn how to use LinkedIn and leverage it in terms of, let's say, almost like a cold call, but messaging through LinkedIn and leveraging that as well, and that's been very effective using LinkedIn.
That can be a pretty powerful medium if used that way, and that's how you connected with ultimately me, right? Because through CLA, you found CLA through LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I started with actually Katie was the first person I spoke with that CLA
Nice.
when I first moved here, and I found her. I messaged her cold on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And started with there, and then Shavar.
Yeah.
Met through somebody else that I knew through the Urban Hive, and then invited me to the event, and then met, and that's why I met
Yeah,
you.
see, we had a CLA, we had a tax reform seminar last week, and for manufacturers and distributors, and so.
Yeah, which was a very, very good seminar.
Good, thank you. It was very exciting to teach it. For a tax guy, it's exciting. It may not be exciting for
We
you.
all have our own thing.
Well, right, well, I got a thing. For tax guys, like, woohoo.
You had food and drinks. There
We had
was
food and
wine
drink,
beer,
yeah.
So
Yeah, get people liquored up in front, and we figure that way they're gonna
That's
pick up
great.
anything you say is
Yeah.
great. Oh, you were
They
great.
signed on right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, well, how about you, man? How have you guys gotten in business?
I would say mostly referral. You know, it's you do a project and then you do a good job and then, you know, you talk to other people and it's kind of part of our process too. We're talking to so many stakeholders within an organization
Right.
that people understand what you do
Right.
and they may work with other organizations, particularly with boards. You know, if somebody serves on a board, they probably serve on other boards. So yeah, I think that's been good for us and just, you know, leveraging, I'll tell you, just when you're starting your own business, just tell people what you're doing. Because we often don't look at our own network of people. So just let your friends know and go on your social media and let folks know this is what I'm about, this is what I'm doing, here's my ideal client. Because there may be a lot of opportunities that you're not thinking,
Right.
oh, this isn't a business connection, these are my friends. Okay, well, they know people too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and they know you, and they can vouch for who you are and the quality of your work. So, yeah, I'd say entrepreneurs, just utilize your network and let folks know, and then it will kind of come to you.
Yeah. Yep.
And call people back
Good advice.
and follow up.
Yeah.
You know?
Call people back and follow up.
You know, I mean, it's simple as I was in real
Elementary.
estate for a long time. It's like the difference between a sale and not making a sale is just return that phone call.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, my goal continually, everybody you meet with is asking them, is there anybody in your network you'd recommend to speak with or
Right.
meet with, and
Yeah, that's
continually having goals each week of the number of meetings to get in front of people, and you'd be pleasantly surprised that some you don't think, hey, this would be an opportunity, but all of a sudden there is an opportunity, and so and my approach too is never turn down a discussion or a meeting or a conversation because you just don't know.
You just don't know. Yeah. We had lunch yesterday at Roxy, which is
Oh.
where Amanda and I
Yes.
had lunch last week.
Yeah,
It was the first time I was there. It was
What did
really
you
good.
get?
It was the steak
We
salad.
just got the
blue
same thing,
cheese,
steak salad.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very
What did I
good.
have? Soup? It was great.
Anyway, the place is great, but driving down Fulton is a big pain. I'm just saying. So next
Oh.
time I want to be
Yeah.
right here in Arden because it's right off the freeway for me. So.
I'll tell you too. So continuous shameless plug for Urban Hive though. But the extreme value of working in that kind of co-working
Oh,
environment
yeah, absolutely.
and just having conversations with folks, particularly like in that startup world, because they need the help. So you know you got to work on your cost structure and whatnot. But like that's a very ripe environment for folks that passionate leadership. Seed of a thing, starting to build momentum, especially like kind of hitting that, you know, $1 million in revenue, but not $100 million, that kind of middle space that, okay, now you have some team, you have some, that's really that group that needs, okay, let's not, you know, to speak to what you said, get out of technical and get into strategic. And it's so hard to think that way when you're in your grind of your startup.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, and I would imagine you're also surrounding yourself through the Urban Hive with people who are, you know, willing to take a look at what you're doing, offer constructive criticisms and unfiltered opinions.
Right. And it's a community. I mean, it truly is a community of people. I mean, you could at any point just go, hey, random, can you look at this and see if this is weird? Like, I'm writing a proposal. Can you reread this? You know, it's just a group of people that are super, super supportive and want the small business community to do well. And also our chambers of commerce. I mean, the Sacramento Chamber is phenomenal. I chair the Citrus Heights
Yeah.
Chamber. And if you know, chambers are as good as you put the effort
Roseville
into it.
Chamber.
The Roseville Chamber, one of the best in the nation. If you put that, if you go, you know, if you just pay the membership, you're going to get what you get. If you go to the events and really utilize it and let the staff know this is what I'm trying to build, they will work on your behalf.
Speaking of the Roseville Chamber, one of the things CLA has been involved with for a number of years, our predecessor Galena was as well, is we do a business person of the year, young person of the year, I think it is. And
Professional?
Then, thank you, that's it. Oh my God. See, I don't do that one. Young professional of the year, and then entrepreneur. I did the entrepreneur one. So anyway, that'll be, and we present that at the Roseville 2018 this year, so which happens around May, I think so. something to look forward to. Josh, what about you? How do you get your clients?
A lot of the same as what Matt and Amanda were talking about, through word of mouth, through referrals. Cold calling is very, very difficult. We still use it, but the most,
Do you use it, or do you have someone else do that for you? I mean, do you guys have a service you use?
Oh,
or
I'll
you
do it.
actually- Okay.
Yeah, but most successful is a referral from a client you already
Yes.
have, or a center of influence, or like you said, a friend, somebody who knows you best and can refer you out. That's
Yeah.
where we get the majority of it.
Yeah. And what's your ideal client? What type of clients do you typically work with?
Looking typically businesses probably in that $10 to $30 million revenue range. People who are looking to grow their banking relationship as they grow their business. So maybe it's something we start with a simple checking account, a small line of credit, purchase equipment as they continue to grow, maybe even into larger lines of credit, commercial real estate, that type of thing. But we want to be there every step of the way, the same kind of as Matt and Amanda do. We want to sit down with them, go through your goals. Where do you see yourself in 2 to 3 years? And how do we start setting you up now to get there versus, okay, I'm ready to buy a building, now what?
Well, and, as an advisor, and I'm an advisor as well. I mean, really, it's important for a successful person to have a team of advisors.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a banker, a CPA, strategic planning. I mean,
Right.
all time. I mean, there are lots of attorney. I mean, there are lots of advisors that are important and integral to the growth of a healthy business.
Well, and a lot of my favorite meetings are, you sit down with the client and say, let's bring everybody into the room.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the bank saying, we want to see this out of the business. What are you telling the CPA?
Right.
And can we all get on the same page to make sure we're all doing what's best for you and we're not all fighting against each other to accomplish the same goal?
I think that's where we talk about mind share, and that's
Yes.
the perfect
Yes.
environment to do that. And whether it's an internal team within an organization or the third parties and bringing the team together and sharing in those ideas and getting the synergy again.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we all want success for the client.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We all have the same goal in mind, so why not have everybody sit down in the same room and kind of go through everything?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where someone who's like a good advisory, who's good at running that kind of situation comes in handy as well.
Right. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at the difference between what are good company, what the difference between those that are truly great, those that are good, and those that ultimately fail, it's that alignment issue. It's at some point you just started putting a lot of energy into something that was not on the same path, and the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
So to have that group, we went through a leadership program and they called it your personal board of directors. So think about, do I have a finance person? Do I have a strategy person? Do I have those voices in the room that are telling me, what did you think about this? Did you consider it like this? That's where you get the best results.
Well, and a
Strategic
lot of
advisory
time,
board kind of
as a business owner, when you're working with these outside people, are you paying for a service or are you paying for a relationship?
Mhm.
Because if you're just paying somebody to prepare a report or I want this, great, we can give you that. But what's the whole goal? What's the main game? What's the big game plan? And how can we get you there?
Mm-hmm.
Versus how can we just get you what you need right now?
And finding the right relationship that challenges you the most.
Yes.
And somebody that's open to being challenged. And that's the way a business will grow or leadership grows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, being challenged and being open to being challenged. I think that's important, and I think that goes back to when you guys said when you're vetting your clients initially, because I'm sure you run into those that aren't willing to be challenged. And they don't got to fix something, but don't make me change. All right, make all of them change, and then we'll all be better. Well, that's not always the right answer.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Well, we've been talking with Matt Lambie with OpFi Advisory, opfiadvisory.com. Thank you, Matt, for being on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Great to meet everybody and really enjoyed it.
If you want to get a hold of Matt, you can go to www.opfiadvisory.com. And Amanda Blackwood, thank you, Amanda, for being on the show. And,
Of course.
And guest co-hosting. Josh, thanks for being on the show and guest co-hosting as well. And next week, we will be back on Beyond the Numbers. Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh, you have a card.